Proper use of folders in Canva is arguably the most important way you can save time and streamline your workflow, and that's because you can use folders not just as a means for staying organized when you're creating designs and searching for old designs, but you can actually make use of folders directly within the Canva design interface as a means to very quickly access all your favorite Canva assets. So yes, if you're not using folders in Canva, you are really making it hard on yourself and you're potentially wasting a ton of time. But not to worry, because in this video I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about working with folders in Canva and how to take full advantage of them in your workflow so that you can start saving as much time as possible. Let's dive right in. Okay, let me start just by quickly clearing up some confusion. Some people think if you're a free Canva user, you only get 2 folders. Well, that has been changed for a long time. I'm recording this in January of 2024, and for a long time now, all Canva users get unlimited folders. So this makes folders a great resource for even free users. You can take full advantage of folders. So I don't want you thinking you only have 2 folders if you're a free Canva user. There's still a lot of YouTube videos that haven't been updated that have this information. That's not true. Long ago, Canva made the switch so that now all users get unlimited folders. So regardless of whether you're a free Canva user or a pro Canva user, you use Canva for Teams, you're going to be able to take full advantage of folders and everything we go over in this video. Okay, so now let's get into talking about how do you create folders, how do you see all your folders, what sort of folder structure do you want to set up, and then how can you access all your folders. And with all of this, I'm going to be giving you what I consider to be best practices for folders. And this just comes from years of using Canva, years of teaching Canva to people from all over the world, and also from keeping the full design cycle in Canva workflow in mind. So what do I mean by this? Well, what I expect is that most Canva users are using Canva to create social media marketing assets to promote their brand and business. And at least to some degree, this probably means they have some repetitive design tasks that they do on a regular basis. They probably start to develop a set of templates that they like to use on a regular basis. They probably start to develop categories of favorite assets that they like to use again and again. So with this in mind, I want to help you build out a folder structure and workflow that allows you to return to and make use of the designs and assets you need in as efficient a manner as possible. Okay, so here I am on the Canva home screen, and let's start by looking at one way you can create folders in Canva, and you can see all your folders in Canva. Now there are all multiple ways to do this, but we're going to start here by going under this Projects tab on the left. Now I'm recording this on a desktop. I tend to work on my desktop or my laptop in Canva most often because I have the most screen real estate, and that's what I prefer. But if you're on mobile, you're going to see this Projects then probably at the bottom of your window. So if you're on mobile, it will be a little different, but everything we do in here you still can do on mobile. Just keep in mind that the user interface is going to be slightly different if you're on mobile since I'm working here on desktop. So I'll go under this Projects tab here, and once we're under this Projects tab, you can see all your Canva assets. So right now by default when you come over here, it's under all, and so this means I'm going to see folders, designs, templates, images, videos, all that stuff down here. I can use this show more, I can scroll down the screen, but if I want to specifically see my folders, I can click on this Folders tab here, and then I'm going to see all the folders that I have created within Canva. Again, you see a whole bunch of them here. Free users, pro users, we all have unlimited folders now in Canva, so you can build out as many as you want. Looking at the Folders tab here, we're just looking at the folders now. Now there are 2 default folders that you still get in Canva, and that is the starred folder, where if you star a design or something, you star an asset, it'll show up here in this starred thing. So these are all the things that I've starred in Canva. I don't think this is actually that important, which I'll explain to you why I think that later. But if I just back out here, the other default folder here is the uploads. So when you're actually within the design interface and you upload something to Canva, by default it starts in this uploads folder. So if I click here, I can see things that I may have uploaded recently, and these actually are ones that I created AI art. So when you do AI art and you generate AI art using that text to image feature in Canva, by default it will show up here in that uploads folder. So if you ever want to get back to AI art that you may have generated and you didn't add it to a design or you can't find it, it will be in this uploads folder until you move it somewhere else. So those are the 2 default folders that you have in Canva. You have this starred folder and you have this uploads folder, but then of course you can create as many new folders as you want. So what folder should you create and how should you set up your folder structure? Well, that's really a personal question that really comes down to your brand and business and what is going to be the most efficient setup for you. So think about the different content categories you have. How does it make the most sense to set it up? And if you're not sure at first, just go ahead and start with some sort of organizational structure and then keep in mind that you can always improve it as you go along. So just one example, maybe you're going to set up your content based on social media platforms. So I could come up here and on the top right, this is where we're going to create new folders. There are other ways to do it, but we'll start here. So I'm going to come and click on this add new, and then under here, I'm going to choose folder. And you can name your folder here. So I'll go ahead and I'll name this folder social media. So social media. And then you could share it with team members here if you work on a team. If you're not, you don't have to worry about this field here. But if you do work as part of a team, you can share with other team members here. Or even if you're not a part of a team, you can type in someone's email if it's their Canva email, and you can share a folder that way with other Canva users. So go ahead and click continue now. And when I do that, it's going to create that folder. I can go ahead and open it right here. And now when you have a folder, suddenly you get this display again, where you can see all the contents within this folder. So you can stick not just other designs in here, but other folders, other templates, other images, videos. So any sort of assets you want to store in this folder, you can do so. And then once again, you can come in here based on different categories and you can filter it. Now, it doesn't make any sense now because I don't have anything within here. I could create a design right here. I could choose add designs and find other designs I want to stick in this folder. I think there are better ways to do that from actually within the project interface sometimes, but if you want to, you can do that right from here. You can also come up here and create another folder, so I can have a folder within a folder. So I'm going to create a folder now, and I'll call this one Facebook, and we'll go ahead and hit continue. Let me do one more. So I'll add one more folder and we'll call this one Instagram. So again, you can decide whether you want subfolders like this or whether you just want to have one folder at the top level of all your folders. But you might set it up this way where you had a social media folder, and then within each of those folders you had Instagram, Facebook, all the different platforms. And then within this Instagram folder, I could set up a folder for Instagram stories. I could set up one that was square Instagram posts. I could set up another folder that was animated assets that I like to use on Instagram. Really, it just comes down to what is going to make the most sense for you. And again, this is something you can come back and you can modify over time. Now, if you want to navigate back, you can just use this button here to get back to that top level. And anytime you navigate into folders like that, like if I go into this one here, then I can see you sort of get this breadcrumb look here. And if you do happen to have subfolders, so let me go back to all my folders again. So let me just go back to projects here. And then here's that social media folder. As you do this, a lot of times you're going to see recently used folders at the top here. But if you want to search for a folder, you can come up here and you can type it in. You see I do have that typed in the search here, but if I clear that, I could come in here and I could type social media, and I could do a search, and it's going to start to show me some results here, and I can see here's that social media folder, so I can get into that way. And then if I click into another folder, then we can see here that this breadcrumb approach sort of shows me the different levels I've gone down in my folder structure. So I'm in Instagram now. If I want to go back to social media, I can click on that. If I want to go back to projects, I can click on that. Okay, so this is the basics of setting up a folder structure. Now we're going to get into how do you store content in these? How do you really start to take advantage of this folder structure once you have it set up? So before we go over how you can use these folders in the Canva design interface, let's just go over a few more things you should know here while working under this project section where you see your folders under this project section. First of all, right here in the upper right here, I'm in list view right now. You see I have this, actually I'm in icon view, but if I go now, I can use that and see this suddenly as this list, and then I can toggle back and forth between those. Now, if I go back to my top level, the projects level here, then suddenly I also have the option up here on how I want to sort. Right now I'm sorting these alphabetically, so if I sort of click out here, we can see that it starts with my recently used folders, but then we get into an alphabetical list going down the screen here. And again, I can go between the grid view and the list view here as same as I did before, but now suddenly my folders are all in alphabetical order here, and I can come up here and I can change that. So if I want to go from alphabetical, I also have newest edited, oldest edited, most relevant. So you have some different ways you can sort your folders here. I usually leave it alphabetical, but every now and then you could come up here, you could do newest edited, it, and when you do that, we're going to get the social media up top, but you can set it up in whatever way makes the most sense to you. I'm just going to switch it back now to alphabetical A to Z and have it set up that way. And I also like to have this grid view just so I can see a little bit more at one time. And if I click show more, I can go and see even more folders at one time. Even more, if I just keep clicking that show more, it'll show me more and more of my folders. Now I'm seeing all my folders on screen here. Now, you can also use these three dots to do different things with the folder here. If I come under here, I can star this and sort of make it a favorites folder. I can move it to another folder. I can share it. I can copy to Teams. I can delete the folder. So I can do all these things here. You can also select multiple folders at one time. So here's one that's Pinterest. Maybe that's something that I want to move under that social media folder I just created. So I'll go ahead and click that one. Here's another one, social media templates. Maybe I wanted that under my social media. So I could check multiple things at one time. Then I could come down here and choose move to folder. I'm going to search for that new social media folder. It's right here. So I could just click that right here and then click move to folder. And then suddenly it's moving those items to my social media folder. So if I want to check and make sure that worked, I could come back up here. I could look for my social media folder. I'm not seeing it. So I could remember you could search by that or actually go under this folders tab. Still looking for it. Don't see it. Remember you could search by most newest edited. So do that. Then suddenly there's my social media folder. And there it is. Pinterest templates and social media templates. They have been both moved under this folder right here. So let me just go back up to this project's level, main level for a second and show you something else. You can even drag and drop things directly into folders. It's pretty intuitive here. So let's say I wanted to put this AI art image maybe in social media. Maybe I'm going to use it in my Instagram. I could even just come here and click and drag this over that folder, and then suddenly it's going to take me into that. I can keep dragging, go over the Instagram, it's going to go into that, and then I can release it, and suddenly now I've put that in that Instagram folder. So it is pretty intuitive the way you can even drag and drop files. Now let me come back to that projects thing again. Of course I could do that because I could see this and I could see this social media folder, but what if I wanted to go under my images here, and let me just check a few of these. Let's just say I wanted to use these different images here that I'm checking on my Instagram account. Well, suddenly I can't see the folders now because that's a different view here because I'm looking at just images. Of course I could do the trick where I come under these and I could use this move to folder, but if I wanted to do drag and drop still, this is where I could take advantage of this left menu here. So again, I could just navigate down until I can see that social media folder, and then I could take all of these, I could drag and drop again holding down that left mouse button, and then once I do that it's going to expand out. There's my Instagram folder. I can boom put it right in into that folder, and then if I want to just peek into that there, now I can see within this folder, now I have this one design here, and then these are images. Again, this one here was a design with different images in it, and this here are images themselves, so that's why they're under different categories. If I went under my design tab here, now I'm just seeing designs. If I go under images, now I'm just seeing the images. So this is really cool because you have this file structure that's going to organize your files in a smart way. Of course, you're setting up the specific structure, but then within that, Canva's automatically going to separate out things like JPEGs from your designs, your Canva designs, from things that you've defined as brand templates, from videos, and then the folders themselves. So it gives you a really nice structure for staying organized. It's just up to you now to take advantage of it. Okay, so I think we've covered pretty much how you can work underneath this project interface here, where you go into our projects. Again, we started on the Canva home screen. All you do from there is you're going to come under this projects tab, and then from here, this is where you can go into your folders. You can start to see all your folders. You can set up new folders up here by adding new folders. But now, how do we take advantage of this now that we've set it up from within the design interface? Because that's going to make folders even more powerful. Okay, so let's go ahead and launch a design now. So we get into that design interface because I want to show you how you use folders within the design interface, because this is going to make folders even more powerful. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go under this social media. I'm going to go into Instagram, and I went ahead and I added a second design in here because I want you to see that under Instagram here, we're under Instagram social media projects. So this is our folder structure, and within here I have 2 designs and I have 4 images. I want you to keep that in mind because that's going to be important as I talk now about the 2 different ways you can sort of work with folders when you're in Canva's design interface. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and click on this AI art play file to go ahead and launch this. Okay, so now we are within the Canva design interface, the project interface. How do we make use of folders and interact with folders in this design interface? Well, there's really two ways to do it. The first is something new to Canva. This has just come along recently. You now have these three lines in the upper left to open a menu, and whenever you launch a file, a design file within Canva, and you click on this, by default, when you first open it, it's going to show you what folder you're in within Canva. And then it's going to show you the different designs within that folder. It'll also show you folders here. So it's going to show you folders, it's going to show you designs, but it's not going to show you things like images or animations. Because remember, if I go back here and we look at the folder here, there are 4 images in here. There are 4 JPEG files. But here under this particular menu up here in the upper left, we're not seeing that. We're just seeing the folders and we're just seeing the design files. So if I open that again, I can see here we are on Instagram, and I can see that we have 2 design files in here. And then if I go back, you can navigate from here. And so if I go back, I can see that we're in the social media folder. That's where this Instagram folder was. Here are the 4 folders, and I can keep going back, and I can even go all the way back here, and I can see all my different folders. So you can actually come and see all your different folders from here, and you can navigate to whatever folder you want using this left menu. So I'll go back into social media. Actually, let me go back into that Instagram folder here. So you can navigate around this way, but it's only useful if you want to see design files or you want to see your folder structure. And then from in here, this is the file that's open. So if I click on that, nothing's going to happen. But if I click on this other one, then it is going to launch that other design file in a new project window. So you can launch design files that you have in your folder structure without even leaving Canva and going back to this home screen. All you have to do is use these 3 dots, these 3 lines here. But I think it's most helpful just to see where you are within your folder structure. So for example, if I just go back to Instagram here, I'm just going to go to the home menu for a second and launch a new blank presentation. And then if I use these same 3 lines here, you can see that it just starts at the base level here. So if you see this when you first launch something, it's not in a subfolder. But then once you have something, once you stick it in a subfolder, then when you first go up to these 3 dots, it's going to show you these 3 lines. It's going to show you what folder you're in. Of course, you can navigate away from that, but by default, it's going to start by showing you what's in the folder. Okay, so I want you to understand that, but that's not the best way to make use of folders in Canva when you're in the design interface, because usually what you're going to want to do is sometimes you might be looking for a design file, but a lot of times maybe you're looking for some of your favorite assets that you've saved off. Maybe you have animated assets that you like to use again and again. Maybe you have brand assets that you use again and again. And when I say brand assets, I understand there is a brand hub, and I have other videos on that where you can store your brand assets, but you can also just organize things in folders however you want, assets that might be categorized different ways, animations, video clips, other things, and you can get to all of those via this here, this projects folder here in this left menu. This is the best way to really take advantage within folders within the design window. You can use these 3 lines up here, but if you really want to see everything within a folder, then you have to click on this projects window, this projects tab over here in this design tab. Okay, so I click on projects, and then suddenly from within here, you can see all your folders within here. And here's that social media folder. If you can't find a folder, you can navigate down, or you can search. So if I were to search for social media, so let's do social media, hit enter, then suddenly it's going to narrow your results right here. Here's folders, here's social media. So I can click on that. Then once I do that, I'm seeing the subfolders. I'm going to click on Instagram. And now you're just notice that I'm seeing those 2 designs, but I'm also seeing the images, okay? And why is that important? Because now suddenly I can just click and add something directly to the project, okay? So now we have a system where you can easily get to a folder and easily make use of those assets within that folder, within a design, and that's when suddenly this becomes a very powerful structure, because not only you're storing things in a smart way, but now you're able to access those items very quickly and make use of them in the design process. So just as an example, I know I have a folder where I've started to create and store some different texture overlays that I might want to use. So let me just go to a different image here. And if I wanted to do this, I could come under projects here. I could search for texture, since I know it's named something like that. Here's my favorite texture folder. And then suddenly I can start to bring textures in here and try them out. I might even add a grid to this. So if I came under here and I search for this grid, put a grid like that over top, and then let me go back to my texture folder. So again, under projects, you search, I'm in this texture folder, and then suddenly I can start to try these different textures very quickly within my design, and all of this because I've set up folders in a smart way. So now I can suddenly get to assets very easily. Just for example, here I probably have another folder that's called frames. So let me just type in frames. If I search here, here's some favorite frames. And so if I wanted to bring one of these frames in, I could suddenly bring in a frame and very quickly add it to my design. Okay. So all of this is just how you take advantage of folders in Canva to stay organized, and then very quickly you can use them within the design workflow, and it just can equal a lot of time savings. So really make sure you start to take advantage of using folders in Canva in this smart way. Now, we saw before under this Your Projects view that you get to from the home screen over here, how you could go under here and you could find images. So these would maybe things you either generated with the text to image tool, or things you uploaded to Canva. So you could find things in here, you could check them on. You could use these three dots or this icon down here to move them to a folder. However, what about all the elements that exist here within Canva? So let me get back here. What about all the things you can find here within Canva? How do you store those to folders so you can access those quickly? Because that's another part of this process as well. So let's just say we wanted to find some more frames that we maybe want to store in our favorite frames folder. So again, I'm going to come under elements here. I can type in frames. We can search for photos, we can search for graphics. So let me go under graphics. Let's say I thought this frame here was really cool. Well, then suddenly here I can use these three dots. I can choose add to folder. I'm going to tell it what folder I want to move it to. I want to move it to this favorite frames. I can go ahead and click add to frames folder, and now it is in that folder. Now, if you immediately come under the projects tab, there it is. I would just say that sometimes this can take just a little while to update. If you add something and you're in a project, it might not instantly be there, but it's going to show up pretty quickly, and then boom, suddenly, very quickly, you have another way to add something to your design project in a super fast way. So always think about this as you're designing in Canva. What are those reusable assets that you're going to use again and again? What are the different categories of assets where you might want to have favorite assets? Because you can use folders for this as well. A lot of people in Canva are just using folders to maybe they're doing this to keep their designs organized so they can find designs easily at a later date. But the real power of folders is this. It's being able to store your favorite assets and then suddenly very quickly use them as part of the design workflow. Okay. Now, I've just given you a few examples here, but obviously you can get as creative as you want with this. Let me just show you another example of what I mean by that. So I have another file here that I've set up that's called font combinations. And in this file, I've just stored a lot of my favorite pairings of different font types, along with the size and the styling for those fonts. Now, there's no way for me to go in here and actually just save this as a favorite the way I could do that with an image and add it to a folder. I can't add this to a folder. Now, of course, if you are a pro Canva user, you do have the brand kit, and under the brand hub here in Canva, you could come in here and you can come under styling and you can get certain font styling things that you can automatically apply. But it's tedious to build that out, and if you're a free Canva user, you don't really have the option for endless brand kits the way you do if you're a pro Canva user. So I've set up this here, but this is something anybody could do, even a free user. And so now that I have this built out, I could be in another design project. So I could be in this design project here, and let me just get rid of this page here for a second. Let me delete this. I had worked through this example before, but let me go through. And so let's just imagine that I had this this other document open, and I wanted to add some different font stylings, and I wanted to make sure I had some good font pairings. I could check my favorite font pairings just by coming under here, under projects. Again, we're going to go in here. I searched for font combinations because that's what I knew the name of this file was. I found that within my folder structure. I clicked on that. I opened the document. Whenever I do that, I can now suddenly get a visual preview of my different font combinations. So even just using this and saying, ooh, I like this Laura font, I could do that. But if I want to take that even farther, I could click on this. And so suddenly I can click on this now, add template as a new page, or replace the current page. Well, I want to add it as a new page. Then I could come in here, suddenly I can right click, I can copy the style, I can jump back to that first page, and then suddenly I can paste that style. I can jump over here, I can copy the style for my subheading, copy style, I can come back over here and I can paste this. I can come in here, right click, copy style, and I could come back to that original thing and then suddenly paste that style. And so very quickly, you're able to come in here, and now because you've set things up in a smart way, you're able to very quickly go through the design process without having to randomly try fonts or randomly try to come up with things you like. So this is just one more example of how you can use folders in smart ways, in creative ways, just to save you time during the design workflow. So just for review, you want to build out a folder structure that makes sense for you. Think of not just your marketing categories, but also the different categories of assets you're going to use throughout the design process, because you really want to start using those folders in your design process so that you're saving time while designing. Then always be willing to expand and adapt your folder structure as needed when you come up with different content categories that make sense that you're going to start using in the design process, and you can reorganize and declutter as needed. Then try to remember immediately, whenever you start a new design, whenever you save a new design, try to save it off to an appropriate folder. Same thing for when you upload files. I like to immediately, whenever I upload assets, immediately move them to a folder. That way they're going to be in the place you expect when you look for them, and you don't have to search, you don't have to spend extra time reorganizing and decluttering. Try to do that right when you upload an asset or right when you start a new design. So let me just show this real quick, since I don't think I've shown you yet how you would save a design to a specific folder from within the design interface, or how you would save off upload. So let's just say you took the time to create a design here, and so you've built out a social media template. You want to be able to find this later. This is an asset you want to be able to reuse. So to do that, you really need to be able to find it. So what you would do then is just come under the file menu, and you're going to choose this move to folder option, and then you can search for a folder. You can create a new folder, call it whatever you want, or if you have an existing folder, just search for it, and then you can move that directly to the folder. That way it's going to be there when you look for it and when you need to use it later. The same thing with uploads. If I just uploaded, let's say I uploaded these 4 images, and they're all going to fit within a certain content category, a project or something that I want to keep organized, then I could immediately select all these, again, come down here, move them to whatever folder I want. Okay, so that's just recommended smart practice. As soon as you create a new file, a design project, or whether you upload new files, immediately organize into folders. Okay, that way things are going to be there when you go to look for them and use them later. You want to make sure you have things organized. And then finally, just continually be on the lookout for smart, creative ways to organize and save time with folders. So I hope you learned something. If you did, please click the like button below, subscribe to this channel for more Canva tutorials, and I really hope you're now clear on why folders are such a powerful part of Canva, and I hope you start to make use of those folder options to save lots of time. Okay, happy designing. Thanks for